Welcome back to MJL 3764 Collecting Elvis on Vinyl. Today I thought we'd look at some more of the 1970s regular albums. So let's pick one and get straight on. I think we'll pick, to start with, Raised on Rock. This album was issued in 1973. Raised on Rock. It's actually got two titles, Raised on Rock for Old Time's Sake. The first track of side 1 and the first track of side 2. Obviously the front cover shows Elvis Raised on Rock, and the other side shows the For Old Time's Sake. Same picture both sides, taken around the same time, 1973. First copy is the English copy, which I believe we spoke about in the very first video I made, as this one's quite sought after in the UK. It's probably one of the rarest UK Elvis albums. This is on the gloss orange label. See there, made in England. This is the one to look out for, as there wasn't many of these pressed at all. So this is in excellent condition, this record. Back of the sleeve looks like that. Again, as discussed in the previous video, that's the sleeve to look out for. And on the bottom, Curzon Street, London, West 1. Track listings on the album. Second copy here, this is the French copy. This was the first copy I owned. It's also on the orange. And the back covers slightly different. Now when I bought this copy, I actually went to the Elvis shop in London, in Manor Park, and I was fairly new then, I was young, and I went in and I saw Chris, the guy that run the shop, Chris Giles, and I said, guess what, I've just bought Raised on Rock, and it's a French import. And I remember him saying to me in a real deadpan voice, come back when you've got an English one. At the time I didn't know this was very rare and hard to get hold of. I thought I actually had something by getting the French import. So you live and you learn. Another copy of Raised on Rock. This is a Canadian copy. This is on the orange Dynaflex. See, made in Canada. It's on a very thick cardboard sleeve. And you can see there, it's got it printed on the back. This is the American Dynaflex version. On the orange, with the well known in the sleeve there. And last, pretty beat up cover, we've got a 1976 Italian pressing. Now most people know that this album was recorded at the legendary Stax Studios in Memphis, or at least 8 of the 10 tracks were. 2 of the tracks, I Miss You and Are You Sincere, were recorded at Elvis's Palm Springs home a couple of months later. But this album did actually, again, was quite criticised when it came out. I don't know why, but those critics, along with the critics that criticised the Boulevard album, have now changed their mind due to the release of probably this one originally, Essential Elvis, Volume 5, which featured alternate versions of the Stax sessions, not only the Raised on Rock album, but also the Good Times album and the Promised Land album, and this one, which was quite a popular one. So now people seem to have re-evaluated this material and they've changed their mind. Took them quite a while, but some fans have now come around. This is a very good box, if I can get it out with one hand. I won't take the CDs out, as these they're the awkward CDs to take out for someone like me. Again, they've reused the picture from Essential 5. They're housed in these horrible things. That aside, it's a very good release. But we'll look at that in more depth when we go through the CDs. Very good booklet enclosed with it also. Of course, it was available in the 90s when all Elvis's catalogue was being transferred onto CD. Digitally remastered. And of course it's available on FTD. With lots of outtakes. Now there was a single issued from this album. Let's take a look at that. The single, when issued, got to number 36 in the UK charts in 1973. That's a jukebox copy. And it was also issued in the solid as well. And you could also, at the time, these were quite popular. You could buy records when vinyl was actually going out. You could actually buy, these were very, very popular. A picture of Elvis, just done by fans and people in a frame with the record. And if you put this picture on your wall too near sunlight, that's what would happen to the label, as you can tell. Only got to number 36, but I like this track. It's one of my favourite tracks from the album. But both of these sides I like, looking at the tracks. Again, as I say, it did get quite criticised at the time, but for me, for old time's sake, and Sweet Angelina, really good vocals, good ballads. Sweet Angelina, I believe, was actually started at Stax, but I think it was completed in September at Palm Springs, along with I Miss You and Are You Sincere. I Miss You is another good track, and I quite like the Find Out What's Happening, If You Don't Come Back, and Just a Little Bit. They're some of my favourites from this album as well. It was actually, because it was recorded at Stax, people I think expected more, but I quite like them tracks. I think Find Out What's Happening and If You Don't Come Back are quite in with the times, 73. But that's my own opinion. Girl of Mine and Three Corn Patches do come in for quite a bit of criticism. Last note on this album, apparently Elvis walked out of these sessions unhappy, and some tracks were recorded without vocals, with just the group. So there's 3 tracks here: Wonders You Perform, Good, Bad But Beautiful, and Colour My Rainbow. And of course there is It's Different Now, which is on here, track 13, The Rehearsal. Now when Elvis walked out, well, according to which account you believe, at Young and Sound in early 77, Elvis apparently walked into the studio and walked straight back out again. Some accounts say he stayed in the hotel and didn't even bother going to the studio, but those sessions were aborted. With these 3 or 4 tracks left over from these sessions, personally, if I was Felton Jarvis, I would have gone back to Graceland, back to the den, the jungle room, and presented these instrumental tracks to Elvis and tried to persuade him to get a vocal of those 4 tracks. So if he could have persuaded Elvis to put his vocal down on the Wonders You Perform, Good, Bad But Beautiful, Colour My Rainbow, and maybe It's Different Now, didn't need the band, just get Elvis to record a vocal, then Moody Blue might have been a complete studio album. Hindsight's a great thing. That's the Raised on Rock album. My apologies for letting this video run on a bit longer than I thought. I was actually going to show one of the other albums recorded at Stax later on in the year, Promised Land or Good Times, but it seems we're running short of time now, so I think we'll close it now. Just thought I think these 70s albums get criticised a lot, and I like every one of them. In fact, I think there's only 2 tracks, probably 2 studio tracks from the 70s, which I don't care for. I like all the rest, so I do like to defend these albums. So hopefully in a later video we'll show the Good Times and the Promised Land albums. So until then, just remember, while there's music, life's no waste. See you shortly.